Hey folks, and welcome into TK Power Sports. Today we're having a closer look at this, the 2025 Polaris Sportsman 570 Touring Ultimate. Now for 2025, this thing is heavily updated, and I'm going to tell you all about it. So in this video, we'll go for a ride. I'll tell you about the performance from behind the handlebars, and I'll ride on the back and tell you about comfort. And then we got to go over all the features like this big 7-inch touchscreen. So make sure you stay tuned. Let's start off by talking about what is new for 2025 here on this Sportsman Touring Ultimate. And the answer is quite a bit. The first thing you're going to notice is just the way it looks. All of the plastics, the entire body is changed here. So it's now caught up to the rest of the Sportsman lineup. And I like the way it looks. It looks nice and aggressive. Now for front suspension, we have some changes. There's dual A-arms down there now, and you are getting a bit more travel out of it. There's larger tires here now. They're an inch bigger than before, so we get an extra ½ an inch of ground clearance, which is nice. Overall dimensions are about the same. The width is still 48 inches. The length is a couple of inches longer. The one that really changed is the height. It's almost 10 inches taller, and that has everything to do with this back seat. And yes, this seat is totally changed for 2025, and this is one of the biggest deals with this unit is these brand new seating configuration. And I like what Polaris has done. Not only is this seat nice and cushy feeling, but they've put these handles on here that actually wrap all the way around your hand, so you can choose where you want to grab onto it. I like that. This seat has also been designed for super easy removal. Grab this handle down in here, and that whole thing pops off, and look, the handles go with it. So when you take it off, you leave yourself this massive area. And then when it comes to the main one-up seat, it's been made longer and apparently more comfortable as well. And then if you want to bring somebody with you, you can toss this back on. As easy as that. So definitely the new seats, I should say, is a really big deal for this Sportsman. And now, let me hit you with all the relevant numbers. Let's start with the powertrain numbers, and those have not changed. So this Sportsman Touring is powered by a 567cc single-cylinder 4-stroke engine that makes 44 horsepower. Now I mentioned that the whole machine is a little bit bigger, and it's also heavier. Dry weight here comes in at 911 pounds, which is actually about 180 pounds heavier than the 2024. If you want to know the overall size, well, length comes in at 91 inches, width measures in at 48 inches, while overall height comes in at 59 inches. Now capacity on the front rack is 90 pounds, while capacity on the rear rack is 180 pounds, and overall fuel capacity is 6.75 gallons. Ground clearance is listed at 11.5 inches, while the tow rating on this unit is up a little bit for 2025 at 1,350 pounds. The wheelbase here comes in at 56 inches. That is not changed for the Touring, but it's worth mentioning that it's about 3 inches longer than the standard non-2-up Sportsman model, while the payload capacity here is 485 pounds. Finally, I will spit out the suspension travel. So up front, you're getting 8.9 inches of travel, and out back, you're getting 9.5 inches, while the tires are 26 inches in diameter, wrapped around 14-inch aluminum wheels. Alrighty folks, and here we are riding on this Touring Ultimate. So I'm going to change it over into performance mode. I'm going to leave my EPS assist on high, and now I'm going to hammer the throttle, and let's feel it. And honestly folks, it's still quite good. And I will say the modes here, performance mode, work, and standard, they make a huge difference. You put it in performance and that throttle tip in is super aggressive. Now, I won't say it flies off the line because, I've been on the thousands, and yeah, of course, it doesn't compare to that power, but I honestly would not be disappointed getting this 570 and riding it on a long trail ride. It's plenty powerful to get you out of most sticky situations. I've been here today in a little bit of sand, a little bit of snow, not deep snow by any means, but I have felt a couple different surfaces, and yeah, the power plant has not even made me think twice at all. So when it comes to power, there's more available if you want it, but in my opinion, this 570 offers plenty, and of course, if you go for this over the bigger plants, you're gonna save a couple of bucks too, so what is not to like? Now, when it comes to the overall ride, the suspension travel here feels like just enough. It's not some of the monster numbers we're getting out of ATVs these days, up to 12 inches, but 9.5 in the rear, just about 9 inches in the front. It's enough to do some aggressive riding. I will say that through the whoop sections that I've been hitting here today, you can find the limit of it fairly quickly, but it's counteracted by one thing which is nice, which is the wheelbase, especially in these whoops that I've been riding today. And it's only 3 inches longer, but getting that extra 3 inches of wheelbase just seems to give you a little bit less front to back bucking. As I'm riding through those whoops, I feel like I can go a little bit quicker. And you'll notice here, I was standing up and adding my legs into the suspension equation because that's, how you ride through whoops. But yeah, I definitely felt that slightly longer wheelbase. So if that's something you're going for, a bit of a smoother ride, going for the touring model is also a good choice. Now, the other thing that I'm feeling today is the weight. At just over 900 pounds, and I should mention that is a dry weight that Polaris lists, so that means no fuel, no fluids whatsoever in here. So once you add oil and coolant and gasoline, this thing's probably easily 1,000 pounds, and it feels it. It feels heavy when you come down off of these whoops. Or even here, I did find just a little jump, and when I got up and off that jump, yeah, plenty of power to launch me in the air, but when this thing hits the ground, man, does it ever hit the ground. And that does affect the cornering a little bit. I feel like, especially because of the wheelbase combined with the weight, it does want to push wide in the corners. It does have a tendency to understeer, and I think that's just the case of it being a big, long, heavy machine. So this might be obvious, but I do think it's worth saying. If overall crazy performance is what you're looking for, you'd probably be better served with something a little smaller and a little lighter. But the reason you get this is for that 2-up seat, and I did ride back there today, folks. I didn't want to just offer my impressions sitting stationary, so I hopped on the back. I put cameraman Liam on the front, and he toured me around. And honestly, it's incredibly comfortable. I stand at 6'2", 300 pounds, and I fit back there fine, and I fit back there with another full-size adult in front of me. The seat back is nice and stiff, which I like, and so there's no flex in it. Now, on the other hand, though, because when I'm talking about the back, I just mean the uprights, the supports. The actual cushioning on the seat is super soft, so it's very comfortable. So it has that stiff feeling overall, which makes you feel confident holding on back there, but then the cushioning is super fat, super padded, so it keeps your butt and your back, nice and cushioned. So overall, I think they really did a nice job on that rear seat, especially with the handholds. You can see my hand in here. I just love the fact that you get choices. If you're a taller rider, a shorter rider, younger, older, there's going to be a different position that probably works better for you. And how neat is it that Polaris gave us those options? So yes, rear seat comfort, rear seat space, rear seat ergonomics are excellent. I think they nailed it with the rear seat. And that's actually surprising for me then to say that they did not nail it with the front seat. The front seat's also new for 2025, and at first push, it also feels cushiony, but then I get my butt on here, and I actually sink right through the cushion. So right now, as I ride, my butt feels like it's just on plastic, on hard plastic. So it's like the cushioning is nice, but in this case, the foam is too soft and I just get right through it. So it really is a tale of two different worlds when it comes to the seats. The rear seat passenger is going to be super comfortable and supported, and the front seat passenger, yeah, is basically riding on a hard plastic seat. Now maybe this would be different for somebody lighter than me, I don't know, but yeah, I gotta tell you that I am not at all impressed with the front seat comfort and very impressed with the rear seat comfort. Now let me talk a little bit about this 7-inch touchscreen with Ride Command, and I gotta say, I think it's well thought out and it offers all of the information you could want. So you have your main gauge screen here, which is totally customizable, and that's something that really stands out to me. Everything in here seems to be customizable. So you can change what information is being served to you, you can change how it's being served, whether it's a little list format or whether it's a little gauge. And then, yeah, you can preset different screens. So if you set them up the way you like it, you can save it that way and always get back to it. And then if somebody else jumps on your machine, they can put on the screen they want. So a lot of really smart functionality. Probably the best thing is the mapping feature. And I also want to show you the reprogrammable button. So here on my left handlebar, there's the reverse override button. Well, you can actually make that do different things. So in my case, if I click and hold it, I get the map to come up on the touchscreen. That's really smart. My one sort of fear with things like this touchscreen is we're bringing another layer of distraction into off-road riding. When you're out here ripping around on the trail, you should be focused on what you're doing, not focused on tapping the screen. So while I don't love that aspect of it, I do like that Polaris has done some things to negate that, like having that button. And you can set it up with a short tap and with a long tap. So the long tap is on the map, and right now the short tap is on the Bluetooth settings, but you can change that. Really smart functionality. Now back to the map. What I've been noticing today, it's nice and crystal clear. It's a nice crisp display, so it's easy to see. And then it's also very responsive, so it's quite quick, which is what you want. If you are out on the trail and you quickly just want to zoom in or zoom out, see where you are, yeah, it's right there underneath your fingertips, ready to go. It has group ride functionality. Now, of course, this is only for other Polaris Ride Command users. You can't use it with different brands, but if you have buddies and they have Polaris machines too, you're able to set up the group ride. You can see them on your screen, so you can keep track of them. You can see whether they're in motion or not. And then there's even a message button over here, so I can sit here and type in some messages and send that out to the group. So, you know, if you do want to communicate with them, you have the message system. Really, really smart functionality. Yeah, everything here on the screen has worked perfectly. And this is just, you know, where we're at now with our off-road machines. More technology, more connectivity, and honestly, I think it's a good thing. As long as you don't let it distract you when you're out on the trail, I think that it just makes riding that much more convenient and simpler, especially if you don't know where you're going. There's two other features I do want to talk about. The first one is snowplow mode. So that has been added for 2025. And like the name suggests, what it does is it will automatically lower and raise your snowplow based on your gear. So when you go up into low, it'll drop that plow down to a predetermined height. When you put it into reverse, the plow will lift up. So that's one less thing you have to worry about when you're plowing. You don't have to be working the winch. The Polaris will actually do it for you. And then the other feature that's cool is essentially downhill descent control. So I've been messing around with it here today. This isn't a very steep hill, but you definitely feel it when you're coming down the hill and I let off on that throttle. The engine braking just grabs this machine, and you can see a clip of me doing it here. The one thing I don't love is that when you come up over the hill, just idling, you know, at super slow speeds, it does sort of feel like it lets you run away for a second, but then the engine braking grabs you and really slows you down. And I didn't do any real hard work today, but that's the kind of feature you're really gonna notice if you have a trailer or even just two heavy folks on here. So yeah, nice to have the hill descent control. And once again, just another feature that makes riding one of these things that much more of a nice, calm, button-down experience. One less thing for you to worry about controlling your speed and your momentum going down that hill. Well, I think I can summarize this machine. The first thing I want to point out again is just how uncomfortable this front seat is. And now I've been riding for about 2 hours and my butt is actually starting to hurt. So it's definitely disappointing that the front seat is so stiff, considering that the back seat is so good. That's one of, if not the most comfortable rear seats I've ever sat on an ATV. It's cushy, but firm at the same time, great handholds, great spot to put your feet. Everything about it is incredible. So yes, Polaris, if you're listening, please update this front seat and don't touch your rear seat because you nailed it for 2025. And then outside of the comfort, yeah, you know what? All of the off-road stuff here was already good and Polaris basically left it alone. I appreciate slightly larger tires and slightly more suspension travel, but overall the engine, the all-wheel drive, that stuff all works excellently. And then when it comes to the features, yeah, the Sportsman Touring has now caught up with all of the other Sportsmans in the lineup, and it's offering all the best that Polaris has to offer. And with this ride command system, yeah, I think you're getting something truly incredible. And why should side-by-sides have all the fun? Now we're getting this best technology that these companies have also here on our ATVs. So I like to see that quite a bit. So overall, Polaris, I think they updated everything they needed to and they nailed it, except for this front seat. Well, folks, we have come to the end of this one. Now, I need to hit you with the pricing. So this Polaris Sportsman Touring 570 starts around $13,000 here in Canada, but the model as you see it, the Ultimate, well, it's gonna sell for about $17,000. Now, what can I say? If you are in the market for a two-up ATV and you want all the best technology and some excellent comfort, at least for the rear seat passenger, you have to check out one of these redesigned Sportsman Touring. So yeah, folks, that's it for this one. Now, please drop in the comments because I want to hear from you. While you're down there leaving that comment, hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member of TK Power Sports, and then come right back here to the channel to see what we're testing next. And if you'll excuse me, I got plenty more riding to do. See ya!